That's my baby. I'm dying. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the fuck are you talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. It's Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio. We are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. Our doc, Paul Vidal. Find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Your boy Chuck's here. We got Pete Evans. So I got the right direction. I know it. We got Jeff. Jeff Warner, what's good, man? And then we got special guest Jake, friend of the show, family member, A2D colleague. What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, boys?
So we got Tom and Chrome both out today. We apologize. Personal issues with them, but they will hopefully be back next week when we do our free agent preview. But today, we are still going to look at the Eagles roster. We're going to do a little stay or go with the guys that we got. Who we keeping? Who we bringing back? What are we doing? So we're going to figure all that out. But remember, watch us all over the internet. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit the like button on Apple Podcasts. Also on Stitcher, Twitch, the whole nine. We are also brought to you by the Counseling Center at Sunrise Detox. Many of us and our families, we deal with mental health and addiction issues. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, please call 856-651-8117. Tell them that Tom at A2D sent you. Always take care of your own, guys. Check in with your loved one. You always want to make sure that you're reaching out. Be there for the ones you love and give them help when needed. We take that very seriously here at A2D. So remember, if you need help, Counseling Center at Sunrise Detox. Our poll question, though, guys, is it time to part ways with Jason Kelce? Agree or disagree? It is time. Do you agree to that or do you disagree? We're going to talk about that. Like I said, we're going to do a stay or go segment with the Eagles roster, determining which players should go, which players should stay, which players will we trade any of the players. Are any of our players even worth trading? I don't know. That's a big question. I don't know how many of our players would actually get a return, but we'll talk about that. We'll get into other stuff that you guys want to talk about, so chime in on the chat. We'll read off whatever topics you want to get into, draft stuff, free agency stuff, which comes pretty soon. So if you have some questions regarding free agency, let us know. It doesn't even have to be Eagles related. It will be football related, NFL related. You know how we do here. We are Eagles and football show. I know that Ben Roethlisberger just got a new contract for. He will be returning. So you can talk about that if you want to. We'll dive into that, and then to end the show, we will, of course, as we do usually, go into our no huddle segment. We'll talk about Flyers. Well, maybe we won't talk about Flyers, who are losing pretty bad right now. But we'll talk about the Sixers if you want to. Got a huge win yesterday. Man, that was a great win over the Jazz. So if you want to talk about that, we'll dive into that too. All right. But to kick things off, like I said, we've got our poll question. It is time for the Eagles to part ways with Jason Kelce. Agree or disagree? Like I always like to do when I'm hosting or narrating the show, I like to go to our special guest. So Jake, lead us off. What do you got? Do you think it's time for the Eagles to part ways with Mr. Kelce?
In my heart of hearts, no. But I mean, if I'm looking at it from Kelce's perspective, I mean, what more do you have to prove? You already won a Super Bowl. You're one of the best centers, if not the best center in Eagles history. But at this point, I'm going to disagree with the poll just because of the whole Jason Peters rumors that they might bring him back for his what seems to be his third final season now. But it's I hope he doesn't go. I really hope he doesn't. But at the same time, if he does retire, I'm not going to be upset. I completely understand it. He had a great career. He's an Eagles Hall of Famer, maybe potentially a NFL Hall of Famer down the road, but to the poll, I'm going to disagree. I don't think he's done yet.
Jeff, what you got, Jeff? What do you think?
Look, I'll say Jason Kelce, he's, like Jake said, he's an Eagle all-time great, probably the best center in franchise history, most likely possibly make the Hall of Fame. But I'll say I do have to disagree with the poll. I'll say I love Jason Kelce, but I'll say you only move on from him if Jason Kelce wants to move on and retire. In that instance, if he doesn't want to retire, you need to keep him around. I think he earned that much from the organization and the effort he put in. We have to remember. I'll say of all the offensive linemen last year, he was the only one I think to play 16 games, and he was injured for most of the freaking season. I'll say he's a warrior out there, and I'll say I know everyone loves him because of his speech, but he's a warrior on that football field. The only thing I would say that Jason Kelce needs to give do for the Eagles a favor. He needs to let them know by a certain deadline, and the Eagles need to give him a deadline on when he's making his decision. Because if they are going to move on from him, I'll say they need to know what their game plan is moving forward into this offseason, whether they're going to address the center position in free agency, in the draft, or if they're going to worry about that next season after he retires, maybe next year. So I think they shouldn't move on from him unless it's Jason Kelce's decision, so I'll disagree. But Kelce still needs to give the Eagles that respect to not drag this on into the middle of the offseason.
Good points. All right, Pete, what you got?
So I agree with the poll if Jason Kelce is the one to make the decision if he's done with the Eagles. Mm-hmm. I think and I kind of think that's what Jeff was saying too. So if it's up to the Eagles, I vehemently disagree. They're not going to go ahead and move on from him. But if Jason wants to move on, I think the Eagles they think that relationship is gone. You know what I mean? I do think if it's the Eagles had their way until they get a replacement, they may draft a center this year or start to look at that position. But as far as just moving on, I definitely don't think that would be coming from the Eagles side of the table. I definitely think that'd be more Jason's decision. He became a father again recently, had another daughter. So, I mean, now he has 2 kids in this area. So if he wants to be grassroots in this area, then why not still do that with the football team you won a Super Bowl championship with? Whether it was by hook or crook, you're still here. You're really probably one of the most tenured, if not the most tenured player on offense and as a whole. Now that if you go back, especially if they move on from Zach Ertz, so definitely has a lot of clout here. I don't know if he wants to go ahead and hit that reset button again. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's one of those things where maybe the Eagles should have looked at this sooner. He kind of hinted at it before, being maybe wanting to retire. I want to see what it's like for him, where his head is at now, taking snaps or snapping to someone that's not Carson Wentz. You know what I mean? That's going to be Jalen Hurts. How much is because you see he's kind of the old man now that he came in, and now everybody around him, he's one of he's the last of the gang, the last one. He's the last man surviving right now. Last survivor, so lone man standing, whatever you want to, sole survivor, whatever you want to say, from that regime. I mean, especially if they move on from Zach Ertz, they move on from Alshon, if they move on from JP. So I mean, he's really the last one from that original group, and how that's going to play a part in him. So if he wants to go out and kind of go out on top on a good year, he may walk away this year. I mean, you got some guys that do that Ric Flair shit, no matter what. They want to get in the ring. They don't care how they look. And then you got other guys like, to me, go A, and that's Shawn Michaels, who went out on top. You know what I mean? He kind of went out still being able to perform at a very, very high level, and he went out on his own terms. Does Jason Kelce want to do that? And if that's a question, where do we go from there? What do we do at the center position? I mean, how much we already kind of know going into this year, that is somewhat of a rebuilding year, retooling year. Does Kelce want to be a part of that? Does he still love the game that much to go through that 16 weeks and then not even counting the preseason and the training camp to prep to get your body ready for 16 weeks of hell? To be honest with you, is the juice worth it? Have you ever seen Alicia Cuthbert and Timmy the Olympian, the girl next door. You ever remember that movie from like the early 2000s?
Yeah.
One of the biggest sayings in that movie is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the juice worth the squeeze for Kelce at this point? You know what I mean? If he approaches Howie Roseman and say, "Hey, listen, man, I just don't think I want to move on. I want to look at something different." Will the Eagles be gracious enough to let him out of his contract and let him go on? Because I think, if anything, if I'm him, the only other place I would go is Kansas City. I just want to play with my brother. That's it. Go play with my brother and see what that's like. You know what I mean? And if he's given that opportunity, you know, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. It's a shame that we're at this point. And I think the whole theme of this show, some of the decisions that I know we're going to talk about tonight with the stay or go is going to be very easy for us to make. What's up, nephew Grayson? Oh my goodness. Every time, look at those bangs. God. But some of these decisions are going to be tough. If we bring out some tough names tonight, it's not going to be as just cut and dry as stay or go without some emotional attachment, because we bleed green. No matter how much it seems where the team is at right now in this position that they're in, am I happy with them? No. Do I still bleed green? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see what decisions and people's and our takes on it tonight and what the fam has to say. And if you're in the YouTube, I don't know how many people are watching right now, but please pound that like button, subscribe, turn your notifications on, get all the fresh new daily content on A2D, one of the only online media platforms that's doing it every day with multiple different personalities and multiple different shows. Whatever your flavor, we got you. If you like hockey, like we know we got hockey happy hour coming up tonight, special guest Riley Cote on there, special giveaway, special promo codes. So we'll get into it further. But yeah, pound that like button, man, if you're in there. Pound that like button like Yokozuna, rest in peace, at a buffet.
I know in the chat we've had a few people. I know J-Mac asked who the best center in the draft is. I unfortunately have not studied offensive linemen yet. I'm not there. I don't know how people blaze through these prospects. It takes me up until April to get through everyone. So I'm unfortunately not there. So I have no opinion on it just yet. Jesse Davis here says Drake Johnson in the 5th round will be a great replacement. Eagles have shown they are great at developing linemen, and that is true because they have Stoutland. And keeping Stoutland and not losing him was huge because that we can develop even more linemen. So that goes into my answer for the poll question, which is disagree. I think that I've been trying to look up Jason Kelce's contract and the implications if we were to release him. I don't know what they are.
I have one.
You have them?
Yeah.
So I know there are probably some savings that we would get if we release them, and I know that we could use every single dollar that we can. But the thing is, for me with Kelce, he plays such a valuable position on this line because he does things at center that not a lot of centers do. He's very unique and rare in his skill set. Is he still the best center in the league? No, he's not anymore, not for the past 2 years, but his skill set is still unique, and he's so intelligent. So I personally want him here so that when we do get a replacement, hopefully in the draft, that can play center, because I personally would want to keep Isaac at guard. I don't want to move Isaac. I like him there. He's a solid, good player there. I don't want to move him. So I want to keep him at guard. I want to draft the center. And if we draft the center on day 3, which there should be good prospects there on day 3 for center, I want Kelce to help groom him. You know, him and Stoutland, I want them both to be able to groom that next center. So I don't feel comfortable if you're going to get rid of Kelce. There's no clear replacement. Maybe say Amalu, but besides him, you're going to draft a guy on day 3, and then you're going to expect him to be the starter. That's way too much of a question mark. It's risky. So I would keep Kelce for another year, and then of course if he wants to retire, he wants to retire, and that's his prerogative, and I wouldn't blame him. And that's something out of the Eagles' control. But if he wants to play another year, you bring him back. I think he brings more value on the team than cutting him, and the savings would be to the team. Yeah, and I know we are really, really struggling against the cap. But again, his value on the team is more significant. So I would keep him for another year. I know that a lot of people on the chat have pretty much agreed with us. A lot of people saying that they would keep him for another year. You know, we develop linemen really well. So I agree. I think that it's very important to have him and to keep him. And he's one of those. It's kind of like with Brandon Graham. They're playing at a high enough level, and they're such core members of this team that it doesn't matter if we're going through a rebuild. We know they're going to play at a high level. You know they're going to give their all. They're not in a situation where they're like, I need a contender to play with. Bless you, man. They're not, and with any veteran, you would understand. Like, if they've never veterans that never won a Super Bowl, you would understand if they want to go somewhere to win one.
Right.
But these guys, that's not really. You can tell that's not really their prerogative. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not. They want to be able. They want to be here. So as long as they want to be here, I'm keeping them.
I could dig it. I mean, you brought up an interesting name right now, Brandon Graham, where some fans, some of the fans out there, or certain sections of the fan base, believe in this retool that you need to clean house. You just need to gut everything, anything of value, you sell it off, liquidation sell, stores closing, everything 75% off. I mean, obviously that's not the case. That's not the case. My nephew over there beating up the microphone. But no, in all seriousness, so when we look at players like Brandon Graham, when we look at Fletcher Cox, obviously we talk about Malik Jackson. We heard his name come up numerous times. You heard Alshon Jeffrey. Those are the obvious ones that the Eagles should move on to and want to maybe a little bit. But the toughest ones, like we talk about Brandon Graham, who single-handedly may have the biggest play, bigger than Concrete Charlie's play when he knocked out Frank Gifford. I mean, without that strip sack, that Super Bowl was in question. You know what I mean? So have we seen him play his last game in the Eagles uniform? And if we have, or if we haven't, do you think that the Eagles should move on for him? Should he stay or should he go? I mean, we just kind of talked about Kelce and his reach beyond the field and what he does for the team in that locker room. What do you think would happen with Brandon Graham? Do you think he's in jeopardy? Do you think the Eagles are looking at him to potentially move on? And if you're Howie Roseman, are you moving on from him?
I'll say I don't feel they're going to move on from BG just for the fact that the reports, I would say from Derek Gunn, that they are in talks about restructuring. So they obviously want to keep him around, but they did not want to keep him around at that high cap number. Especially you have a guy that I would say is like Chuck said, still playing at a high level. He's coming off his first Pro Bowl season last year. I get he's in his 30s now, so I'll say he only has a couple years left. So I'm not saying give him a long-term extension or anything like that. Just somehow restructure that cap number for this year. But I'll say, do we? The question mark is, I'll say, who do we want to go with? Do we want to go with BG, or do you want to go with Derek Barnett, who's in his fifth-year option, due $10 million next year, and I'll say has shown that he hasn't lived up to the first-round hype. So at least I'll say I feel the Eagles are someone going to be deciding between those two players. I do not feel that both of them come back unless magically, I would say Howie works magic with Derek Barnett's contract, where they lower that cap number and turn it into like some type of extension, like a prove it type of deal or something. But I'll say I love BG. I'll say he's probably on his way out after this year, I believe. Give him that let him go out on his terms, or let him go out there and try to win one more time here in Philadelphia, since he's done so much for this city and so much for this franchise. But I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on from him. He's due $15 million. I would say we have to remember we're $40 to $50 million over cap, and we can't keep these older players with these huge numbers just because of the sentimental value or the connection we have with them. The Eagles still have to be smart with this franchise moving forward, because the cap number is going to drastically increase over the next couple years. So if any year's the year to get rid of this dead weight and these horrible contracts that Howie put us in this position, this is the year to do it, especially since the organization, from what they have said and what they have done in these press conferences, they might say they're ready to contend next year, but just from their actions and what they have said, they basically said they're in rebuild. So they obviously don't have high expectations to really make a run next season.
Okay.
To concur. I mean, I concur with what he said. There are those reports that they are going to restructure his contract or bring him back. So it looks like BG is going to be back, and I agree with it. He's similar to Kelce. He's one of those who's still playing at a high level, and his captain is not that bad, So I'll bring him in. He's a leader on the team. He's a mentor, and he's not like he's dead weight out there. He's
exactly
playing really, really well.
Yeah.
So I love BG. I'm one of those. After the Super Bowl, I will never accept any Brandon Graham slander ever.
Mm-hmm.
BG he's one of those will never pay for a drink. I do not tolerate any bad words against the man. I love that man. He is great. But just even feelings aside, I think he brings so much value on the field. Well, not so much, but he still brings a lot of value on the field. So I would hang on to BG as well. I agree. And I hope that these rumors and reports are true that they're going to bring him back for another year.
Yeah, I agree as well. I don't think he's going anywhere. Me personally, obviously, with all the reports that everyone talked about earlier with him potentially restructuring his deal. And he's, what is he, 33? 33 now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 33. We'll say like 33. He got 8
32.
sacks last year. 32, okay.
He'll be 33 in April, so by next season, he'll be 33.
Okay, so he'll be 33.
That's 30. It. He
seems older, right?
He seems older.
Yeah. 10 years.
But, yeah, but 32 years old, going to be 33 next season. He had 8 sacks last year, still provides great production on the field. But it's also like what people aren't talking about as well is what he provides off the field. He's a leader off the field. He provides that energy, and the young guys need that. We're going through somewhat of a youth movement right now, and obviously with the cap situation being what it is, Jeff said earlier, I wouldn't be shocked if they moved on from him, but I don't anticipate them moving on from him.
Yeah. So we got those two down. Let's go. Let's do it this way. Let's go to the pending free agents that the Eagles have. Let's go down the list, and we'll say I'll read them off, and we'll say if any of us would. We'll say if we think we should keep them, or as in like bring them back, resign them, or if we should just let them test free agency. So I'm on Spot Rack's list. We've got all the players there. Let's start with the bodyguard, because we already mentioned him. Someone in the chat mentioned him. He wants to play another year. Ugh. It looks like it's not going to be with the Eagles, but you never know because he has Howie's balls in his hand, and
I mean,
Jason
Peters big enough for everybody else. So if he's standing in front of you, he'll have everybody's balls in his hand. Right?
Exactly.
That's not a dude you pop off to. Mm-mm.
Oh God! So re-sign him or let him walk.
Yeah.
I'll let him walk. But knowing the Eagles, it wouldn't shock me if they brought him back. It would not shock me.
No way in hell he's coming back here.
I hope not, Jeff.
I love JP, I would say, but after that little freaking tactic he used last season, the hold the Eagles, like you said, by the balls and try to twist their arm to give him more money to move the left tackle after they paid him all that money over the freaking years, he lost a lot of respect from me. I would say I understand it's a business. I understand he's 38 years old, and I would say he's trying to get that last big payday. He's trying to get as much money as he can to invest in whatever freaking new truck he wants to buy. But I would say, dude, if you're gonna twist the team's arm, at least freaking live up to the hype and freaking go out there and perform. If the Eagles bring him back, Howie deserves to get fired around the freaking spot. I don't care what he's done and that he's a future Hall of Famer. The dude is washed up, and if he gets a job anywhere as a starter, that team and that scouting department and front office needs to be there, get their head examined.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't be surprised because with not here. So obviously I don't want him back, but don't be surprised if another team signs him because
as a starter, I'm saying I'll say they bring him as a backup.
As a bridge starter, because there are teams whose left tackle position is really that bad. That's the only reason. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Peters is good still, but some teams, they are so desperate at left tackle, and that's such a position of need where like they need one. So they're going to look at what Big V got by the Lions.
Yeah,
they paid him, and he's a swing tackle.
But I agree with you. But the thing is, he also stepped in for an injured Jason Peters and went out there and helped a team win a Super Bowl coming off that year. So it was a little bit of a different circumstance with the Lions giving Big V that type of money.
Yeah, it's
39-year-old left tackle who's washed up.
Different circumstances, but it still shows that teams will reach for
value it
left tackle because Peters is not going to be anything more than a bridge starter. But a team that drafts a tackle late and needs someone to kind of step in and be the mentor, which Peter said I think he was on GMFB this morning, he wants to mentor young people, they're going to do it. And so I think it would be – I do expect a team to sign him, not anytime soon, but sometime in the summer after the draft, when you get in training camps and you get those veterans, the teams bring in, I think he's going to be that type of signing. But no way would I want him here anymore. It's you've got to let these young players on the Eagles play it out. So he's gone.
If he wants to freaking teach the young players, then someone sign him as an offensive line coach assistant or something. Do not let that dude lace up his cleats and get on the football field again.
Yeah. I definitely think that he needs to go, and I think it'll be best for both parties if he moves on. I think Mailata solidified himself as a starter. I'm not rolling the book out on Andre Dillard. It just hasn't played enough, hasn't had enough game tape. But I think Mailata's your starter, Dillard's your backup, then you draft. Then let's not forget. I mean, we got some other rookies that we drafted last year, now going into their second year. And if it's one thing that I've always said, this team may not develop a lot of skill position players, but they know how to develop linemen. That's proof is in the pudding when you look at Jordan Mailata, who was a kid that was played rugby, you know what I mean? And now look at him like we're sitting here saying, like, I'm going into next season, we're comfortable protecting our starting quarterback blind side with Jordan Mailata. So, Jason Peters, wish you well in your future endeavors, but you could take a hike.
And Jesse Davis here says Andre Dillard was a bad pick. He says that Andre Dillard can't play left guard. He should be gone. I want to address this because I've been hearing again or seeing people on social media, some people bring up, maybe you can move Dillard inside. You can't. You cannot. He does not play guard. He doesn't have the body type and the skill set to play guard. It's a different type of skill set that you need to play offensive tackle and to play guard or on the inside. Dillard's not that. He's just not that. Now, when it comes to Dillard, remember, and I'm gonna say it not to toot my own horn, but everyone loved that pick, the Dillard pick.
Yep.
I was okay with it. The reason why I was okay with it and not ecstatic was because I had him at a second-round grade because of concerns about his play strength and mental toughness. And I think we're seeing that. The few games that he did play in 2019, in Jason Peters' absence, he showed some signs, but he showed that he gets overpowered at the point of attack. And people thought that I was crazy, that they wanted Dillard to start the rest of the year, but I kept saying he's not ready. And if you watch the film, you see that he gets pushed back at the point of attack. He gets out-muscled, out-powered. And that's the truth. I don't think it's time to give up on Dillard though. I think that remember, people in the chat have been saying, we develop linemen. Well, let Dillard develop. I had him at a second-round grade because I didn't think he was ready yet, but I saw talent there. He's super athletic. So I think you let him develop, and worst-case scenario for this upcoming season, he's your sixth tackle, which we've seen in past years. That's so important. That's so important because of injuries. So what if Mailata goes down for a couple of games? What if Lane Johnson goes down for a couple of games?
Right.
Having Dillard is going to be so valuable. And if you can keep developing him and let him work on his play strength and his anchor, he's going to be a pretty damn good tackle. He's really athletic. So I'm not giving up on Dillard yet, but I do kind of want to hint that, like, hey guys, this wasn't a first round tackle in my opinion.
Right.
People disagree, but I never saw him as a first round talent, and so I always thought that was a bit of a reach by the Eagles back then. But I'm not giving up on him whatsoever. He's got talent. So let's go to the next guy. Let's go. This is controversial because I know people love this guy. They love him, and it's kind of annoying sometimes. But Jalen Mills, like, would you re-sign him, extend him, or would you let him go?
I don't see a fit. I don't see a fit or the value. It's different than what BG is. BG gives us good play, makes some impactful plays. I love Jalen's his attitude towards just next play. If I get beat, next play. But I mean, it's just the money now. I seen someone say, I think it was Timothy McAllister, like, just cut everybody because they're old. Like, you can't do that when these old players are high and they're expensive. That's the problem. We're not talking about if it was just a talent thing, it's easy. You know what I mean? If it's just on the field, it's easy with most of these guys just to say let them walk. But when you're attaching dead cap hits and things of that nature that they're bringing with it by letting them go, that changes the perspective a little bit. But I think Jalen Mills is one of those. At this point, he's an unrestricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. He signed a 1-year deal. So hasta la vista, man. We need to retool the whole secondary. The whole secondary needs to look brand new. You know what I mean? They need to look brand new. And you don't have a lot of money committed to the secondary right now, which in this case is a great thing because you could move on from a lot of players and it's not going to hurt the overall cap.
I would say P, I agree with you. I would say on all your points, but I would say I just have this weird feeling that the Eagles are somehow they're going to bring him back, and I would say the reason is to the point that you brought up that they can't go into this offseason just completely getting rid of absolutely everyone, I would say, because then you still have to find ways to fill those holes and fill those spots. And I would say Jalen Mills, I would say I don't believe he's a starter, but he's a guy I would say you can get at a low risk, high reward, possibly type of deal with a lot of incentive based off like performance. I would say it could be worth a while to bring him back just for depth circumstances because of injuries or a guy that also brings versatility. I would say that's the thing that the Eagles front office loves. They love guys that are versatile, and the fact that they feel that Jalen Mills can play safety and corner despite what the fan base and what we see on the field, they believe that. So I feel if the deal is right, they might bring him back. I don't think he should come back. I feel he does get a lot of hate though, but I would say last season, according to Pro Football Focus grades and all that type of stuff, I would say he graded out okay, not great, but he wasn't as bad as a lot of people felt.
Yeah, I don't put two things, Jake, before you go. One, PFF grades. So I don't care what they graded who so whatsoever. Yeah, I like their stats. I hate their grades. So that's one. Two, now I lost my train of thought. Now I don't remember my second point about Mills. I think it's with Mills. Oh, here's what I was going to say. You say the Eagles, view him and they like him and whatnot. Jim Schwartz liked him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That was Schwartz's boy.
Yeah.
Schwartz ain't here no more. You've got Jonathan Gannon, who plays a totally different scheme, different philosophy.
I agree. Schwartz likes that, but also Howie, he likes bringing versatile players in here because in his eyes, he feels he's saving money on certain positions by bringing these swing players. So I don't feel it's completely was just Schwartz. I feel Howie's type of guy too.
I get it, but with Mills though, I don't. People say okay, like he's versatile. He can play safety. And remember, I was one of the ones
who
begged for Mills to be put at safety. I was dead wrong. Okay,
yeah, he sucked.
Mills cannot play safety. He does not have the mental processing and the football IQ to play safety. He just doesn't.
Agreed.
So this whole thing of he's versatile. He can play safety. Can he? Can he really?
Right.
He was lined up there, but he didn't do a good job of getting the defense in the right position, of orchestrating the back end. So I don't know if I can. I think a smart coach on a team is going to look at that and be like, you're not really that versatile. Now, as a corner, and as a corner, this is what I always thought as a corner. As a corner, Jalen Mills is a cover 2 corner because that way he doesn't have to play deep. He doesn't have to worry about the shallow areas where he excels. So he's a scheme-specific corner. If you have a cover 2 scheme, if you're in a cover 2 scheme, then you're going to be interested in Mills as a depth guy. But other than that, I don't see it. I personally, I don't think Mills should come back, and I don't expect him to come back.
Jake?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Chuck said. I don't see him coming back, but to Jeff's point, it wouldn't shock me if they did bring him back just because of how cheap his deal would be. And me and Chuck's also a crow on this. So we both thought he could play safety. And me watching him at LSU, I'm for people that don't know, I'm a big LSU fan. So all these LSU guys I watched through a microscope. So he played very well at safety at LSU. And I thought it would have translated. It's his natural position. It's what he does best, but doesn't translate to the NFL. So, again, will he come back? I don't think so. I don't want him back, but it wouldn't shock me if they brought him back either.
All right, Chuck, who's on the next? Who's
next after him? This will be quick and easy, these next two. So I'm going to round them off real quick. Nate Sudfeld.
No.
But he has the best deep ball on the football team. Remember that? Hell no.
Oh, God. So Sudfeld, no. Next one will be NRC, Nickel Roby Coleman.
No.
He was one of the most overhyped freaking free agents last year. All we heard about was NRC being this great slot corner and that he was going to help us in the passing defense. And he was like a major freaking bust. Let his ass walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go. I was part of that hype. I admit I was wrong about NRC.
Me too.
I liked him in the Rams, but man, he came here and he just was not the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Pete?
Nah, pretty much there's not much to say about NRC, man. He didn't even get like any crucial pass interference calls or anything. Like he was just like nothing. It wasn't impactful negative or impactful positive. He was just here.
Yeah. All right, next one. This is going to be interesting because we talked about BG and we touched on Barnett. And Barnett we'll get to when we talk about the roster and if we would trade or trade people or whatnot. But Vinny Curry. Would you bring him back on another 1-year deal?
I mean, maybe as a depth piece, but again, I think it also goes to whether or not we keep Derek Barnett. Yeah. If we keep Derek Barnett, I'll say no. I'll let him go. If we move on from Derek Barnett, then I'll keep Vinny Curry just as a depth piece, because I think and someone can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if Derek Barnett leaves, I think it's Josh Sweat's spot, correct?
Yeah.
It's Sweat snap count. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be. But that's to speak to your point, Jake. If they move on from Barnett, which everybody's saying they're letting play it out. I mean, he's being on his $10 million. I think is his option for this year. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot to commit, especially for him. It's more beneficial for him to probably try to secure some long-term money. But if they do move on from Barnett, then I think I would be more inclined to bring Curry back, so that way Curry and Sweat can split. Because I mean, just you don't know how long Sweat's knee's going to hold up, right? Yeah, but very good point, Jake.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, you're good. I would say I love Vinny Curry. I would say we're both wrestling fanatics. He goes to WrestleMania every single year, but dude's 33 years old. I'll say I know he still played well, but we keep on talking about how we need to get younger, and I feel this is a position that I'll say if they bring back BG, I don't want to bring back another aging veteran. So I'll say I understand the concerns with Josh White. He can't. We don't know if he can be a 3-down defensive end in this league, so he might wear down over the season, but I feel I'll say either BG or Barnett are going to be the ones back. They have Sweat, and then they're going to address either in the draft or low-tier free agent, younger free agent that they feel will be the same value as far as like salary and production is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Because I think with Curry, I like Curry a lot, but I think it's just the point where we're at now as a franchise. I think it's just unnecessary to bring him back.
Yeah.
Maybe if he's available in like the middle, like during the season, and we need depth, then he makes sense there.
Or a training camp injury or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't prioritize bringing him back on a 1-year deal. Next one, we're going to go with Hassan Ridgeway, the defensive tackle / interior defensive lineman who got injured. He's had his moments on the field where he's flashed and looked solid, but he's also battled injuries. So what do you think? Because remember, I think what's his name? Jenkins? Not Jenkins.
Jackson.
Sorry,
he's getting cut.
Jackson, he's going to get cut. So would you bring back Ridgeway on a cheap 1-year deal?
I mean, he's coming off an ACL, right?
Is it ACL? I don't know. I forget what the injury was.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, but I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, like you said, Chucks, I agree with you. He did show flashes. I think he got like a sack last year. I think that was really it. He's good. He's good at run stopping, but I mean, he's not really someone that's going to pop off your screen or pop off on the stat sheet. He's okay, but I wouldn't bring him back now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I wouldn't bring him back because you have to define what type of role when you're bringing him back that he's going to fit into. Like, what do we think? A backup player, a starter? What other moves are going to make to make him valuable to the team outside of just having depth? I mean, and I hate to say it, but on all honesty, you could probably draft or sign a UDFA defensive tackle that could possibly give you similar production, even cheaper than what Ridgeway would. And that's not the Ridgeway. It's just one of those things that you really just, like I said, the value to the role for him, I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I would bring him back. I'll say the injury that he had. I'll say he had a bicep injury that cost him the season. So I was saying, so it wasn't his knee or anything like that. He's still 27 years old. He's shown some flashes. I'm not saying he's gonna take a lot of snaps or a lot of reps from Hargrave if they restructure him, or Fletcher Cox if they restructure him. So I would bring him back. I would say, I'm not saying automatically give him a spot, give him a position. I would say one of those low salary type of deals, and then draft a couple guys or bring in a couple guys and have him compete for that position. So, but I would say we need depth, obviously, because we're going to be moving on from Malik Jackson. And I would say there's still talks, even though I don't think it's going to happen, which we'll get into, about them possibly moving on from Fletcher Cox or a lot of those things because of his high salary cap. So I would say for the time being, I would say I would bring him back on a low tier deal.
Okay, I wouldn't mind on like you bring him back on like a vet minimum.
Yeah,
like that. I wouldn't mind it. I don't see it because it's a different coaching regime. But it's possible. It's possible. And I wouldn't hate it. He's just one of those back end of the roster guys that flash. So, I mean,
because in 7 games last year under Schwartz, he was averaging about 20 snaps a game.
Yeah, so it's nothing crazy. All right, how about Strat? Crevan LeBlanc, one of those fan favorites that people love from 2 years ago. Are you signing him or are we letting him walk?
I think I'm ready to move on, to be honest with you. I mean, the same thing with Ridgeway. He showed flashes. He showed a little more flash, obviously, but it's just a couple plays here and there. He's nothing fantastic. He might be an okay backup player or something like that, but no, I think, to be honest, I think they need to go young at corner. So I'm going to say no.
When your nickname is better than your actual field play, then it's time to go.
Right.
He's known for being nickname Strap. I mean, that's what it is. You know what I mean? So he's not known for being a decent cornerback on the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that's why I said if there's one group that needs the most overhaul, I would say it's the secondary. I mean, just because either you move on from guys that you've seen play, that you trusted, that can't play, and you see what the guys that didn't get a lot of playing time play, or you just bring in a whole new influx of young talent and to see what you got. You just see what you have. You see who can play. So any free agent secondary players that are out there from this team, I wouldn't say didn't say they bring any value to the table. So you just move on from them because I think you get the same production or lack of production from younger guys that you already have on the roster.
Yep. I agree with you guys. Let them walk. I like I like the kid, but he's nothing crazy. He's nothing special.
Yeah, he's nothing special, but I would say the one thing we have to look at is I would say the amount of overhaul at the cornerback position. I would say who's going to play on the opposite side of Darius Slay. So that's going to be something the front office and the coaching staff are going to think like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. I would say we don't really have much money to go after a top free agent unless Howie can work his magic and try to trade for a guy that teams are trying to get rid of because of other issues, or they're planning on dumping him, so they might be able to get like trade a compensation pick or something. But I'll say that's the one scary thing, and I feel the Eagles might think that way, and they might bring back one of these guys that we automatically assume they need to walk from, just because of the lack of depth and the lack of inexperience they have on the rest of these young guys.
I think our second round pick, if it's not Dylan Moses out of Alabama, I think it's going to be a corner. I think it's a corner. I just think for everybody that wants us to go defense at 6, you hired a new offensive coach. You're starting a second-year rookie quarterback. You got to look at it from the team's perspective. They want this coach to succeed. They want this quarterback to succeed. They're going to, chances are more likely or not, go offense at 6. So you may throw in, like I said, a Dylan Moses at 37, maybe a Asante Samuel Jr. at 37.
Yeah.
There's another.
I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't think this is the right scheme for.
What's the corner from Clemson?
Forget his name.
I have a sleeper corner in mind for round 2 that not a lot of people are talking about.
What conference does he play in?
I forget what conference he is, but he's a junior. Not grade wise. His name is something junior. If you guys can get it. Well, it's not. It's the second, but essentially he's a junior. It's Greg Newsome.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Greg Newsome. I love Greg Newsome. I think he's a baller. I would love him as a second round pick, but that's just me.
Okay.
That's just me. I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of trusted analysts. That's how I found out about him.
Mm-hmm.
Brought him up, and his tape was like, holy crap, this guy can play. I like him better than Stokes. I like him better than Asante. I think he's at the top of that next tier because you've got the top 3 guys, obviously with Sertan and Horn and Farley. Those are pretty much consensus. I think to me, Newsome is the top of the next tier. But I mean, everyone's got their guys. People like Stokes, people like Newsome. I know some people like Samuel. Like I said before, it really just depends on your scheme of running. I don't think this scheme is fit for Samuel, so I wouldn't want Samuel. But that's draft talk. We'll get into that later. I don't want to digress too much. So we agree on that.
Big corner.
All right. So there's the next guy. Out of everyone on this list, okay, I am good with letting all of them walk, but this is the one guy I'd say I do want him back. And it's Mr. Dick Rod, Richard Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I want this guy as the third tight end on our team is a baller, okay? Like, he's got to be like the best third tight end in the league.
He may be our second. He may be our second tight end coming into
maybe our second. I'd be okay with that. I mean, unless if we draft Pitts, which I would love. But man, Richard Rodgers, I'm sure he's not going to make anything or demand anything more than like $1 million, $2 million. He's going to be near vet minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about a guy who caught everything. He had some great and clutch catches. He's good here. I like him here. Mm-hmm. Out of everyone, the one guy I would bring back is Dick Rod. I love Dick Rod.
Yeah,
Dick Rod's the man.
Yeah, I'm definitely bringing back Richard Rodgers. Absolutely. Just because he was here 2 years prior, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Was he on the Super Bowl team or no?
He was not.
No.
He came the year after, right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
2018 was his first year.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously he struggled this past couple years. Obviously he wasn't good since he was with Green Bay, but this year he showed flashes of old Richard Rodgers. So
right.
I mean, I'll bring him on. Absolutely. Solid player. Like Chuck said, he catches everything. I don't have an issue. Even if he's my backup tight end, I'll take him all day.
AK Eagles, I don't not like that idea.
Look, see, John Lynch agrees with me. Northwestern Greg Newsome, yes.
It's a big corner too, Chucks. That's a big corner.
He's a baller.
6'1", 190.
He is a baller. I love me some Greg Newsome. Anyway, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say you definitely bring him back, especially since you're most likely moving on from Zach Ertz. I'll say Goddard had a disappointing season last year, so I'll say you know that you have potential in him, but you definitely, for depth purposes, and a guy that I would say has shown that he's come a long way. I would say Rodgers last season had 24 receptions on 31 targets, 345 yards for an average of 14.4 yards a carry or a catch. I'll take that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because he's the man that the defense forgets about.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he can block fairly decently, and that's what you need. So, especially if you look at what Sirianni did in Indy with his 2 tight end sets and how he likes to switch them out, But there is, if Indy decides to move from Trey Burton, do you bring Trey Burton back? I mean, if you're looking at Trey Burton or Dick Rod, you know what I mean. It's kind of one of those things where, but I'd be more cost effective.
I'd be okay with Trey Burton. I mean, Trey Burton's like he's a detached tight end. He's not going to be in line. So you can't play him traditionally as a tight end. He's a wide receiver. So Levi agrees. He loves some Dick Rod, but Don that's Richard Rodgers. I hate he made that Hail Mary. Of course he would.
Don did a curse before I did today. Look at that.
Oh God. All right. So next, we agree on Richard Rodgers. I love Dick Rod. I want him back. Duke Riley, the linebacker. Is he coming back or no?
Nah, I'm good. No, thank you.
No thanks.
Yes, I mean, I'd rather have him over Jannard Avery. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, Jannard Avery, the edge player or the linebacker? Because they're moving into linebacker.
Jannard Avery, the Eagle.
What a wasted 4th-round pick we traded for him for.
Well, they never used him, and
they never used him. Yep.
You're talking about a 3-4 edge guy who rushes the passer mainly as a stand-up linebacker, and they didn't use him except for the Niners game, which he had a really good game, but then you never saw him again. Schwartz didn't know how to use him. I mean, I don't think he'll do any better as linebacker because I don't think he's good in coverage. Right. He has to rush the passer, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is going to be his last year anyway.
Unless they use him a little bit like a joker position or something like they did with Connor Barwin towards the end of the year. So that might be a situation for him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, one of my favorite local heroes, Corey Clement.
Nah, I'm good.
I'm good. No, thank you.
All right,
goodbye.
He can keep doing Matt Black commercials, man.
Yeah, right.
I saw that and I'm like, oh, of course. Now he does the Matt Black. I work literally right across the street from Matt Black at TV.
Do you really?
Oh my God.
That's so funny.
I work in Glassboro, so Corey Clement is the hero of Glassboro.
Does he have a statue somewhere in Glassboro?
I haven't seen it, nor do I want to see it. This guy they didn't tender him, so it's already, and he's already a free agent. Cam Johnston, our punter, he didn't have a great year last year, and there are rumors that he still could sign at a cheaper cost. But what do you think? You want to bring him back, or you want to move elsewhere to another punter?
I bring him back. I'll say the reason why they're not tendering him is the tender average, I think, is like over $2 million, and they're not going to pay that for a punter. I'll say he makes $750,000, so I'll say if he gets a similar type of deal, let him improve. I would say, do we really want to risk bringing a worse punter in here? So I would say, especially since special teams are so critical in the NFL these days, in a matter of field position, I would say he didn't play great, like you said, but he didn't play ultimately horrible. So I bring him back out of that minimum.
Yeah, I'm fine with bringing him back at a vet minimum. I don't have an issue. But the same thing like Jeff said, he played well, but he didn't play great.
He was no Don Jones.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, if you could find, I think you look elsewhere just to see what the value is. But if you could circle back to Cam at a vet minimum, less than $1 million, I mean, then you do that. But
yeah,
good on him to see what he can get out there in the open market, to see what his value is, and then they can see what they could do to possibly replace it. If they come back to it, you know what I mean? Then they come back to it.
Evan, that's a good point. His legs out because of our shitty offense.
Yeah, right.
It might be a valid point. Yeah,
but there's also a million punters out there, so that wouldn't shock me either, because there's always a punter looking for a job. So
yeah. We got two more. We got Josh Perkins, a tight end. I'm gonna say no. He's barely on the field anyway.
Especially if you're bringing back Rodgers, you don't need to bring him back either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Last guy before we get into the halfway point and we turn it over to the roster. Our good old friend Nate the Great, Nate Gary.
Oh
no. Hell
He's probably somewhere being Jim Schwartz's servant right now.
Yeah, I am perfectly good with letting him go. No, thank you.
The fact that we saw the back of his jersey more than we saw him making plays last season just shows the fact that he does not deserve to be on the NFL roster.
Guys, thanks.
He never should have been starting at all. I don't know. He was like the love child of like Schwartz, and I forget who the one coach we had, the one assistant coach we had. But man,
Ken Flayton.
Yeah, thank you. They loved him. Some Nate Gary. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know what they saw. All right, Pete, what we got at the halfway point?
So I just want to touch base and pay some bills real quick. You know, Birds of a Feather on A2D Radio is brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. Our doc, Paul Bidell, Specialized Physical Therapy, spotting him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton. And also the Counseling Center of Sunrise Detox. Many of us families deal with mental health and addiction issues. I've dealt with mental health issues before myself, anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's real out there, man. And always can talk to somebody. It's always good. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, please call 856-651-8117. Tell them Tom sent you. And last but not least, there's a show that follows up right after us, Hockey Happy Hour, Triple H. They are going to be having Riley Cote, Body Check Wellness owner, on tonight. They are going to be giving away a customized hockey sweater. Got it right. It's a sweater. It's not a jersey. It's a sweater, hockey sweater, custom Body Check Wellness hockey sweater. All you got to do is comment to win. So make sure you stick around in the fam for Hockey Happy Hour coming up after us. But that's it, man. I think now we're going to get into the second half of the show. We're going to take a closer look at the Eagles roster non-free agents and make some tough questions, some tough answers, and really see how this team can get themselves out of a shitty situation, because this is not ideal, to say the least. This is not ideal, to say the least.
Yep. So it is not ideal. So let's do it this way. You guys want? Let's go backwards. People, we usually go offense, defense. Let's go defense, offense first. All right. So let's look at it. I got the depth chart. I got the roster here. Now, this is what I want to do. So we know who we have on the roster. Obviously, I'm going to go position by position, starting with safety. We're going to name everyone at the position, and you bring up a name that you would trade or release.
Okay.
Obviously, say if you trade or release. If there's no one, then there's no one, obviously. But let's start with safety. Mm-hmm. And at safety, we got Rodney McLeod. I think he has one more year on that deal that he signed. You got Kayvon Wallace and you got Marcus Epps. Those are the three that are on the roster. Would you cut or trade any of those?
No.
Cut. I probably will release Rodney, depending on his cap hit.
Okay. Yeah. What would he say?
Depending on his cap hit, I would take a look at the release of Rodney. I think Kayvon can take a step forward. Epps, I don't think is that good, but I think you can find. There's a safety out of Syracuse I like a lot.
I know who you're talking about. I forget his name though.
I want to say it's Terrence Williams. Maybe it, but it's a safety out of Syracuse I like that you possibly could take a look at. But I I believe I have more. Is this bad to say? I think I have more faith in this coaching staff already to develop players that we haven't seen hit their peak than what we had with the previous regime. And that's just because I've seen what they've done in Indy. I've seen what they've done in San Diego. So it's like I feel like they have more. They're not like Jim Schwartz was very far removed from developing players. You see what I'm saying? Like he was a head coach. He was a defensive coordinator in Tennessee, head coach in Detroit. Took some years off. Then came back and became another DC. Where you got Gannon, he was just a defensive backs coach. You know what I mean? So he's been working with these players more hands-on, and the people right underneath work with these players more hands-on. So I think we can see our younger players that we haven't seen hit those echelons and give us consistent play. I think I'm more confident that we'll see that this year, and younger players will take a stride forward. So that's why I will miss Rodney for his leadership in the locker room. But I mean, just at this point, coming off on the second ACL. I believe.
Yeah.
Did he injured his ACL? He hurt his ACL.
What did he tore something? Like he missed?
He got hurt. He missed the rest.
I don't know if it was an ACL. I don't think it was that serious of an injury.
Okay.
But his dead cap hit though would be $6 million. I don't think we're taking that hit.
That's if they cut him. If they cut him pre-June 1st, if they cut him post-June 1st, but if they trade him, they would save the dead cap will only be 2.4, so they would save 2.6.
Would we get anything for him in a trade? I don't know if we would. Aging better than last year.
A 6-round pick, nothing major. But
I mean, if you trade him, I'm okay with trading him. But here's the thing: I wouldn't cut him.
Okay.
I would keep him. And here's another thing why. Pete, you're talking about your guy, the safety from Syracuse you like. Mm-hmm. I held off till now because I know you're talking about, and he's one of my guys at safety. I have two guys at safety that I have my eyes on for the Eagles. I talked to one last week. It was Trevon Merrick from TCU, and that second one is that guy from Syracuse, Andre Cisco, is the one you're talking about. Cisco, man. Cisco is a ball hawk. Now he's kind of like a boom or bust guy because he'll either make a huge play or he'll either make a really bad play. And I know here in Philly that can be really bad in the fan base. But if you're talking about Andre Cisco late third round or early fourth or someone in the fourth round, I know we don't have a fourth rounder, but I'm just saying like around that range, that's where I'd take him. I'd take him late third round at the earliest or a little bit after. Cisco is a ball hawk, and I think that's exactly what we need. But if you do draft someone like Cisco, you gotta have someone like McLeod to teach him, get him, help him be more disciplined, show him that hey, because McLeod, even though he's always had his athletic limitations, he's still a smart single high player. That's why he's he's a smart guy. So I don't think that I think again his cap isn't enough to where I'm like we need to get rid of him. I think he can help mentor the next guy while still being that bridge, because if we draft a safety third rounder on, they might not be ready to play. You know what I mean? Especially if it's Cisco. Cisco needs coaching so he can get out of these bad habits. But man, Cisco and Merrick are my two guys at safety. I would love either one of them. But yeah, I wouldn't. Epps, I don't think with Epps, he's not. He's I don't even. It's a bit minimum. Like it's not. I don't care if he's here or not. Kayvon obviously going into his second year is going to be big now. I don't think he's a free safety though. I would say this. I'm pretty confident he's not a free safety, or he hasn't shown anything to be that center fielder type of guy. He's more of a slot defender that can play, underneath zones, to play the robber role, but he doesn't have that kind of range where he can play, center fielder on the back end. I don't want him. I would love a combination, a duo of Kayvon at strong safety with Cisco at free safety. That's a young duo I can get behind. So Kayvon, obviously, I have I liked him last year, so I'm excited for him in the second year. But I would keep Rodney. Anyone else? No one.
No, I was pretty much hit on it. And another point is, I would say they can't get rid of everyone. I would say no matter how much we want them to get younger and move on from players, they're not going to get rid of everyone, especially since Lurie still wants to give this make the fan base feel that they're still going to try to contend next season. So by them gutting every single veteran that's on this roster, it's not going to happen. So if they feel Rodney can still play, especially it doesn't make sense for them to move on from him, then they're going to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so corner now. So we got Slay. We got Slay. We got Maddox. We've got who else we have? I don't even know.
Craig James,
Raymond Arnold, Elijah Riley, Michael Jacquet, and Jamison Houston. I mean, you're talking about Slay, Maddox, and then a bunch of jobbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the only two names worth debating over are Slay and Maddox. So if you want to talk about Slay, would you trade him because he's a vet, and he's making a lot? I don't think you would. I think that cap hit would be significant, and you kind of need Slay. You need Slay. So I wouldn't get rid of Slay. Maddox, I think he's still on his rookie deal, one more year. So what do you guys think? Anyone you would move at corner?
I would say no, just because obviously we can't afford to lose anybody at corner right now. I did see the report earlier today that they're planning on moving Avonte Maddox back to the slot. Thank God.
Yeah.
But I mean, Slay's an older player, but at the same time, he's not like what he used to be, but he's still a very good player.
Right.
But it's that number 2 cornerback position. I feel like we say this every year. Who's going to play the number 2 corner?
Yeah.
So whether it be the draft or whatever, that's my real concern. But right now, I'm not moving on from anybody.
And you just gave up a 3rd-round draft pick for him last year. So I would say unless they feel they can get more value for him, like a 2nd-round pick or higher or anything along those lines, I would say there's no point in moving him. I would say no one's going to give you anything high with that type of contract, and I would say he didn't have the greatest season last year. Big play Slay did not show up last season, so I would say his trade value right now, as much as people feel we can get a lot of compensation for him, no way in hell they're gonna get anything major for Darius Slay. So you're keeping him. There's no reason to even move on from him.
I would explore the possibility of what you can get for Slay. I wouldn't go actively seeking it though. If something comes to you, like Jeff said, it comes to you. I like Maddox in the slot, but like the number 2 corner, who are we gonna put there?
Yep.
Insert 2021 draft pick, whatever round. I mean, everyone have a shot. Everybody else outside of Slay, Maddox, Strap, we already talked about going. Jacquet going. I don't even know if Jacquet's on the actual team. Jacquet going. You know what I mean? Like you need to do something. You need to do something. And I don't think the true number 2 corner is on this team. Hell, I don't even think Slay's still a true number 1. So you may just have like a 2 number 2, like 2 ranked corners. You know what I mean? Slay being at the age that he is now, but we have to see what the scheme is too. But it's one thing, like we know Jonathan Gannon came from a Mike Zimmer based defense. They know how to develop defensive backs, and they like versatility in their defensive backs, and they go pretty deep. They go pretty deep with their defensive backs. So I definitely think this regime will find something and be able to get some talent out of it.
So linebacker. All right.
Can we just get rid of everyone? Besides maybe TJ?
You got TJ Edwards, Jannard Avery, Sean Bradley, Davion Taylor, Alex Singleton, and then 2 no-namers, Joe Batchy and Rashad Smith. Would you move any of those?
No.
I don't see why. Yeah, I don't see why you would, because they're all just young guys that aren't doing anything anyway.
That I would say if they move on from Gary and Riley, you're losing 2 starters from last season. So I would say you drafted in the 3rd round with Davion Taylor. You need him to step up and show you what he can do out there. If he can step in to be the starter, otherwise you need to find someone else to fill that position and fill that.
And it's interesting that you bring up Taylor because like the Eagles really screwed the pooch on the Taylor pick because he is someone that I really loved last year as a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
You know, I had a 5th round. He's a project. He barely played football.
Yep.
And he has all these amazing athletic traits. Amazing. But the reason why he's so appealing as a prospect is because he's a pick that you take 5th round or later. You know what I mean? Not in the 3rd round. And so by picking him in the 3rd round, you now put the expectations on him of, hey, you need to start and you need to play sooner rather than later. But the thing is, if you studied Taylor at all, you know that he's nowhere near ready. So like they kind of screwed themselves over with that Taylor pick. And it's not fair to the kid, and it's not fair to to put those unreasonable expectations on him when that's what he was. He's a project. So I like Taylor, but man, like and you're not wrong because as a 3rd round pick, you're going to be expected to now in your 2nd year step up. So you're not wrong. It's just that it's not right that they picked him in the 3rd round because he's just not ready. He's going to take another year or two to get to that level where he can start contributing. Maybe. So I mean, it was a shame that he went that early to them because I like the kid's athletic profile a lot. But you guys got to learn how to play football.
Yep. Very, very, very raw. But you got Alex Singleton out of nowhere. TJ's is solid. And then you got Davion that can be that wild card, but you need depth underneath of that. So, but I'm cool with the depth underneath of that not being Duke Riley and Nate Gary. So go find someone else. Go. Hopefully Davion Taylor can turn into our Darius Leonard. That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Oh, I wish. Are you kidding me?
That'd be nice.
He's not even the same game like player profile as Leonard. But I mean, we'll see. Let's hope. What's it called? There was a comment here. Yeah, Chris Glover. He talks about Jabril Cox. Yep. Man, like Jabril Cox is one of the most popular picks to the Eagles, and I have to say I'm on board with it. Like he just makes a lot of sense on day 2, like round 3. I mean, right. Jabril Cox, like to the Eagles.
What about the kid from North Carolina?
I don't know.
Chad Surratt.
I've been hearing his name too. I've only looked at Parsons and Cox because they were named a lot or mentioned a lot. I haven't really looked at anyone else at linebacker yet. I'm still finishing up offensive side, and I looked into some corners and safeties. That's it. But yeah, I mean that could happen. I would love Cox in round 3. Ian Drummond says love Edwards and Singleton next to a star. Yeah, I mean like Edwards is a specific type of player in a specific type of role. He's only an early down guy. You put him in coverage, he's not gonna do well. So I would only have him as like your strong side linebacker in base package. I wouldn't put him or middle or even at middle on Mike, but only in base packages. I wouldn't put him on there and any type of sub package.
And
yeah,
that I'll say he's only ever excelled and played well under Jim Schwartz. So now with Jim Schwartz being gone, it's gonna be interesting to see what he's able to do without Schwartz as his defensive coordinator. So I would say his rookie year, he had a stellar year in I believe Buffalo, and then when he came here, he had a good year or okay year under Schwartz. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Gannon works with him and how he adjusts to the new scheme.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got linebacker done. Move on to defensive line. I must put these up real quick just to make it easier because obviously your interior guys and edge guys are different. So I'm going to start with edge. And we talked about Brandon Graham, so I'm not going to mention him. Let's get into the interesting guy. So the interesting guy at edge is going to be Derek Barnett. So Derek Barnett is entering the last year of his that option part of his rookie deal.
Mhm.
So he's slated to make what, 10 mil? I think that's around 10 mil. If you cut him, no guaranteed money, you save 10 mil. So are you cutting or trading him, or are you keeping him? Which one of the three are you going with?
Trade, cut in that order for me.
Yeah. Trade or cut. Yeah. See what you have in the market. See what his market is. If you can get something good for him, take it. If not, save yourself $10 million and just move on. To be honest with you.
Yeah. See if you can get another second at best, maybe another third. If you can get another third, because I do think they have the sneaky chance of trying to sneak back in, maybe the back end of the first round or the back end or the top.
So as you're talking about as a package deal.
Yeah.
As a package, you give it into something like that.
Mm-hmm. Because they just have so many holes they need to fill. You know what I mean? And they see that consistency. I think Sweat, Chucks, me and you've been on Josh Sweat for talent-wise is better than Derek Barnett. But
we got made fun of for it too.
Yeah, but we just don't know. We just don't know how long he can do it. And I mean, to speak to David Bradley's comment to restructure Barnett, you can't restructure him because then you have to commit to him long term. And I don't think they want to do that.
No.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I don't think they want to do that.
Well, you can commit maybe long term, but it's still at that same number. I still know there's talks of them like maybe over a 3-year span, basically getting to that $10 million with a little bit more of a guaranteed signing bonus a bit. So it's still a relatively low deal for a younger player that they might still believe in to live up to that first round hype. Me personally, I would say that's the only way he comes back here is if I would say they somehow can work out a franchise-friendly deal for the organization that bring him back to prove himself out there. Otherwise, get his ass out of here or trade him, whatever you can. I don't think you can get a third-round pick for him unless, like you said, you're going to have to give something else with it. But I'll say, because this is a guy that had, like someone brought up, 19 and a half sacks over 4 seasons. That's not a very impressive number to get a lot of value for a guy. The only thing that's going for him is he's still young. So if someone feels that they can coach him up and get the best and the most out of him for the value they trade for him, then okay. I don't see it happening, though.
Yeah, with Barnett, and we talked about this before the season started, like, I was very critical of Barnett, and I will admit that he had a good year. Like he made some really good plays, and he played better than I expected. And credit to him, mad credit to him. And I'm glad that he stepped up, and I like the kid. However, let's look at a number of things, okay? For one, he's a first-round pick. Has he lived up to that billing? Yes or no?
No,
he hasn't. So he hasn't lived up to that billing. All right. 2, I talked about it already, but that cap hit, there's no penalty. There's no like you get rid of him and it's clean 10 mil off the books. Say 10 mil. And then you add in the fact that although he played better, he was still inconsistent. And when you compare him to a Josh Sweat, the production with Sweat on his limited snaps, because Sweat has one knee. He has one freaking knee. Yep. On limited snaps, Sweat was more consistent than Barnett. So I can't justify both of them. When you have both of them, you have one really good deep, edge player, but I can't justify that anymore if I'm going to save 10 mil on the cap by getting rid of one of them. So I think that as good as Barnett was, you have to trade him or cut him. Because you need that 10 million cap space. It's not like with Kelce or Graham, where the impact on and off the field justifies them staying. With Barnett, it's still not enough to justify the 10 mil. Because at best, he still has to. He's right even with Sweat, so they're going to split time. So it's not enough. I like Barnett, but you got to trade or cut him. So I wish I didn't have to say that. But it is what it is. I think we're all in agreement. That's the best route to go.
Yeah.
So let's trade. Oh wait, no, we got one more position on the defensive end. So interior defensive lineman, we've got Cox, Hargrave, Roquan Williams. Those are the three, which is crazy because what was looked at as a position of mad depth for us in past years has now dwindled down to only those three.
Yep.
So are you moving any of them?
You're not moving any of them, but you definitely need to restructure Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. I would say because we went through the whole defense, and we really did not find any players that we felt that the Eagles should move on from or moving on with big contracts. Besides Barnett, possibly that they can save the $10 million there. The Eagles are going to have to find ways to get under that cap and to have money for at least the rookie draft class, with the top 6 picks, so possibly. Yep. So they need to find some ways to trim this debt down. And I'll say it starts with Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave, who I'll say played okay last year, but they're not living up to the $19 million and the $15 or $16 million cap hit that they're expected in 2021.
I mean, I don't have much to add to that.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, there's not really much you can do aside from just restructuring. I don't think you move on from Fletcher Cox or Javon Hargraves and everyone else on the defensive in the DT room. It's kind of just I don't want to say barren, but
you're not going to trade Hargrave. I would say the compensation with that contract, it's basically impossible. Fletcher Cox, you can restructure and possibly move, but what are you really going to get for him? Maybe a 4th round pick.
Yeah,
maybe low 3rd, if that. Right. So the value I would say that you get in return, it doesn't justify the cost of trying to trim or restructuring that deal and moving on from him just because he's an aging veteran. And I'll say, like Chuck said, that used to be the strength of our defense. Now it's if you move on from Fletcher Cox, it becomes a major hole. You don't want to just get rid of players and create more holes on this football team.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't have much else to add. I think you got to keep all 3.
So you got to keep all 3. You kind of can look at the restructure, but kicking the can down the road is the reason why we're in this position in the first place.
It is, but I'll say with that circumstance, and I'll say and the thing is, no one expected Corona to happen. That completely screwed up the entire NFL last season when it came to the cap situation. So with no fans in the stands, no revenue coming in, all that type of stuff, we wouldn't be in as bad a position as we are if it wasn't for that. I would say you possibly only maybe 25 million under compared to the 40, 50 that we're under, depending on what type of cap situation or revenue was brought in last season if it wasn't for Corona. So I know we don't want to continue kicking it down the can and restructuring, moving this money. I agree, but we still need to find a way to get under. And the next couple of years, the cap situation should be a lot better for us to be more players when it comes to the free agent market and making deals and trades and building this roster.
Yeah. Right. All right, so we're going to transition to the offensive side. But before we do, I was saving this question from Jesse because it's a very interesting question. And there's also a follow-up from Mr. Brodo, who has joined in. So Jesse asks, would you trade the 38th pick, which is our second-round pick, and a 3rd to trade back into the 1st round? What do you think, guys?
It all depends on who's there. Like I would say, it's kind of we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to draft day. So if there's a guy that falls and plummets that we feel is deserving of trading back up into the 1st round, then yeah.
Okay, so let's go a step further. For you, name 1 or 2 players that you feel would be reasonably worth it that you would trade back into for.
You have to come back to me. I would say, honestly, I haven't studied the draft too much yet, so I would say I don't know who's expected 1st-round grades at this moment.
Chucks.
Okay, that's fair.
Over here, Chucks. I have a couple. Over here.
Go ahead.
Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah, that's one.
And I may be irresponsible with this, but I don't give a damn. Najee Harris.
Why are you playing me with my guy? You know I love Mr. Harris. Oh, man. Okay, so here's the thing, Mr. Harris. I would love to do that. I feel like there is still a chance he could be their early second.
Okay.
That's why, just because of the position, the nature of the position, not a lot of, unless if you're an elite prospect like a Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey, these running backs usually don't go in the first round. And if they do, they're like pick number 32. And then you see the run on running backs in the second round. So I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think there's still a chance that Harris would be there in the second round. That's why I don't know if I would trade into it for Harris. But that's I love Harris is probably my favorite running back in this class. I love Harris. So I wouldn't be upset over it. I'm just trying to be smart here. I don't know if you have anyone else. I have prospects in mind, but I can let anyone else go if they have anyone.
I was actually thinking Najee Harris, and
So was I.
That kind of leads me to if they're able to do it, get Najee. Obviously, the question comes up: what are you going to do with Miles? I'll revisit that in a little bit.
Both of them. You use both of them. Are you kidding me?
You do nothing. You just let them go. You just watch.
Listen,
let them go.
That's true. You let them go, but then Chuck's the preface and the writing to be on the wall because at that point, Booby ain't getting a second contract if you got Najee Harris.
That's fair. I don't care. You think I care? I don't care.
Oh shit!
I don't care. I love Miles. If he doesn't get a second contract here, he will still be my son wherever he goes. But I'm talking about I'm talking about the betterment of the team. I would love a combo of Sanders and Najee, even if it's just for 2 years. Like that's a deadly duo. I mean, you're talking about potentially already being like one of the top 3 running back duos in the league. If you were to have both Sanders and Najee, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just off the top of my head, but I mean, like that's a scary duo, and so that's a lot of weapons. And what's great about both of them is they have different running styles, but they're both really good receivers. So you can do so many creative things with both of them. And as we saw in Indy, Reich and Sirianni did really creative stuff with their running backs.
Yeah.
They had Hines and Taylor, so they know how to use one running back as the runner and another running back as a receiver. So that would be such a tantalizing kind of thing. I don't see the Eagles taking Harris because I think that there are too many holes that Howie and Laurie wouldn't take a running back that early. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong about that. And
I'll give you this, okay? And this, and I told Jesse this, and I also, in response to Jay, because he says, hell no, we need to gain picks, not give them away. Well, I told Jesse, if I'm Howie Roseman, I mean, if I was Howie Roseman, we would not be in the situation. Yeah. That's a story for another day. If anyone was Howie Roseman, we wouldn't be in the situation. Yeah. But I'm trading back to 9. I'm trading back to 9.
That was the follow-up. Yeah.
I'm trading 6, or I'm trading back to 9 and giving the Broncos 6, and I'm also getting the 40th pick. So to Jay's point, we would already have that additional pick to work with.
Yeah.
So to Jesse's question, hey, would you trade, 37 and a third to get back in the first? Well, if you look there, you're not giving up a ton because you get that additional pick from Denver. Mm-hmm. So you would still be saying, okay, you can end up on draft night or draft weekend with 9, let's say 28 and 40, as opposed to 6 and 37. And that's not even counting the return you can get for Zach Ertz. And I know that's probably going to be, a high 4th or whatever. But with all these players getting traded or dealt, you're going to have more draft capital to work with you.
Yeah. On day 2 and day 3. Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
The only other guy I would look at is probably the kid from TCU if I'm trading back in the first round.
Murray?
Him or somebody defensive though. Somebody maybe Murray, maybe Xavier Collins, somebody like that.
I'm looking at if I'm trading back in the first round, because I'm under assumption, even if we trade back from 6 to 9, I'm working under the assumption that we're still selecting an offensive player at 9. So that's just my mindset. Okay, so if you trade back to 9, maybe you still pick Pitts, maybe he's still there, or maybe you pick one of the wide receivers, Waddle or Smith or something like that. That's the assumption. So wide receiver or offensive skill position is taken care of with that first pick. if I'm trading back into the first round, my top of my head, the first guy I'm thinking of and targeting is J.C. Horn. Absolutely.
I like
Absolutely J.C. Horn. Now, I know that a lot of people have Horn as a QB1. I don't think Horn is going to go or be the first corner taken. But I think the conversation of him potentially being the best corner is a legitimate conversation to have. I still think he's going to ultimately be the third corner off the board. And I think he goes in the mid to late first. Now, if that's the case, you trade back into the first, he's absolutely the target I'm looking at. Because now you look at your return, your first round, you got one of the top wide receivers, whether it be Chase or Pitts or Waddle or Smith. You get one of those, that's fine. You have a really talented prospect on the offensive side of the ball, and then you have Horn, a really talented prospect at the defensive side of the ball. You start now. If Howie does that, pulls that off, you are on your way to working yourself back into the good graces of Philadelphia, because that's a really, really savvy day one. Really savvy day one. So that's who I would think. Now, if you go, say they do it the other way, say with that 9th pick that they trade back for, or with the 6th pick if they keep it. All right, say they go corner, if that's the route they want to go. So now you're talking about Surtain or Farley as the first pick. So you go then. If I'm trading back in the first into the late round of the first, then I'm looking at Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman is my wide receiver 4 or 5 if you include Pitts.
Minnesota,
Bateman,
right?
He's the bona fide X receiver. Like he's what you want in an X, and he's really, really good, really athletic, more athletic than people give him credit for. So those are the 2 routes that pop on the top of my head. I'm sure there are other prospects, like Berto said, that would be worth trading back for. I'm just talking about the 2 that immediately jump out to me, like, ooh, I would love Horn, or ooh, I would love Bateman. Those are the 2 that I think of first.
And the last thing I'll add for you guys real quick, because then I'll disappear because I have to go make fun of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, is that so I came out, and Chucks knows this time of the year I'm just in draft trade mode. I'm always going to make a trade in any freaking sport, but I'm getting real crazy with all the trades. So this is my 0.5 mock draft that I'm going to read you guys. It's not my official one. But it's my 0.5. I'm just going to read you my first 4 picks. And you guys in the fam at home grade it for me, okay? So I'm trading the 6th pick to Denver for 9 and 40.
Okay.
And at 9, I'm drafting. I put it in the chat earlier. It's Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts season.
If he falls, yes.
Yes, I'm doing that. If that happens, I'm going crazy. I'm probably on my roof on draft night. I'm going nuts.
I think we all pull a me last year, right? If that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on.
See that? Do we all pull me?
We can try, but we can never duplicate the original.
No.
That, Chucks?
Yes.
Yep.
I think we all do that if we get Pitts at 9.
So at 9, I'm taking Pitts. Then if I stay at 37, I'm taking Asante Samuel Jr. So that's my cornerback pick. So up until like 2 weeks ago, the number 1 on my board was Surtain. And I'm not saying that I'm off on Surtain. I'm Kyle Pittsed up right now. I'm just going crazy with him.
Yes.
So in addition, because I'm not going to then say, hey, cornerback's not important. So my very next pick is that cornerback option.
Okay.
Then at 40, some people could say it's a reach, but I don't give a damn because it's a need and it's a big school. It's Jabril Cox, linebacker.
Okay. I wouldn't mind it.
And then the 4th pick, I'll just go to pick 70. It's Jamian Sherwood, safety from Auburn. So here, what I'm doing, and like this is a big theme for my draft, as soon as you take Pitts, I don't need to go offense with any of my picks for a while because that's your correct. That is your premier guy on offense, along with Rager if he develops, and Goddard and Sanders. Like the only position I may go with offense for a long time is maybe offensive line, but I feel like we're good. I feel like honestly, and this is obviously, and this goes right back to your main topic with Jason Kelce and everything. If the same people are here, I'm good with offensive line because say Say Dillard sucks or he's crying in the locker room again. I have my Lotta. I'm cool. I think he's going to end up being Vitae 2.0, which is awesome. A rugby got to be that. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of Lane Johnson, if he's out, I really like Jack Driscoll. I think he can flat out play. So if everyone's staying here, I'm good, man. Go get Kyle Pitts and then go and just redo this entire defensive core for the remainder of the draft. I'm cool.
Yep. I'm on board with that because I'm you guys know me by now. If you don't, the way I do my draft work is I do evals and then I do one mock draft that I release the day of. I'm not into mock drafts that I put out or these guys put out like 5 during draft season. I do one mock draft and in that so I'm formulating. It's a work in progress throughout the whole draft season. And right now, that's how it's falling. It's exactly what Berto said. Is I have with that first pick, I have an elite offensive playmaker in Chase or Pitts, and then it's all defense. It's all defense. I don't take an interior defensive lineman until day 3 with one of my 5th round or 6th round picks. Mm-hmm. I don't look at that because again, like we said earlier in the show, Jeff Stoutland can develop these guys. You can get a day 3 guy and develop him over the next year or 2 with Stoutland. So to me, you got to get after you get that offensive playmaker, you got to go defense. You got to rebuild this defense with the league talent, and I completely agree with Brodo. I like that route that he went. I would probably go somewhere else with safety, but man, that everything else I would be on board with.
Yeah. Chris
Glover says something here. I mean, we got behind in the chat because of this discussion, which is great, and thank you guys. Tuning in. I know everyone's talking draft, and I love it. Draft nerd that I am. But Chris Glover says if we somehow left the first round with J.C. Horn and Trevon Merrick, that secondary overall would be well on his way. You're talking Merrick, and I keep saying it. Man, he's like a light version to me of Earl Thomas, like a light version. Not as good, not as athletic, but that IQ and just knowing where to be is elite. So, and then this one more that caught my eye. There's one more comment. Rhamondre Stevenson, Oklahoma running back, is a bruiser. Man, Jay, man, yo, Stevenson. If anyone follows me on Twitter, will follow me, Chuck Moranin. I have put up several of my evals now on running backs, and Stevenson is my day 3 sleeper at running back. Stevenson is a beast. He's a monster. 240. All right, a running back at 240. Huge. But he's got quick feet. He's light on his feet. He can move. He is a beast. I love Stevenson. He's my day 3 guy. I think that anything that picks up Stevenson on day 3 has a potential starting running back he is so good. He's so good. I have 2 or 3 guys that I really like in this class. It's Najee Harris and Stevenson's one of them, and I'll reveal the other one later on in a few weeks. I don't want to reveal all of them, but man, I love Stevenson. He's my sleeper. He's my sleeper of this running back class. I'm glad someone mentioned him. Good stuff, Jen. Good stuff.
Real quick, Chucks, before we move on, Flyers just tied it back up 3-3.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they just tied it back up.
Oh, my gosh. All right, cool. New game.
Starting off 0-3, and now they tied it up 3-3.
It was the shirt change. It was Chuck's shirt change before the show.
Yeah, right.
Let's go!
Yo, if you know hockey, before we move on real quick, we got 20 minutes, so we'll do a speed round with offense. But if you know hockey, that early 3-0 lead is the worst lead in hockey because so many teams come back from that.
You get too conservative.
Yes.
Get conservative, get laxed.
Yup. All right, guys. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to the offensive side. Let's start with offensive line, okay? Let's look at that end. And, I mean, we talked about it, that we're pretty much good. So I'm going to go off of, the first, all the notable guys, and just tell me anyone that you would move on from. You already talked about Kelce. So we got Brandon Brooks at right guard, Lane Johnson at right tackle, Isaac Malu at left guard. We got Mailata at left tackle. And then we've got also behind them obviously is Andre Dillard. You also got Matt Pryor, Jariga, Nate Herbig, and Jack Driscoll. I think Sua Opeta is another one. So any one of those that you would say, the significant names, you would say, hey, we gotta move on from.
If Dillard doesn't show you anything in training camp, then I think that you may just have to cut your losses.
Yeah,
it's just going to be sad to see if they move on from Barnett and Dillard. That's almost 2 first-round picks in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then that just didn't work out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I agree to Pete's point. If it's anyone on the offensive line, I think it's going to be Dillard. If he doesn't show up, or he just doesn't show promise like he did in those 3 games that he played, that he started, if he doesn't show up in training camp and respond because he hasn't necessarily had a chance, it's his rookie year. So if there's anyone I'm taking a waiver on possibly being traded, it's going to be Andre Dillard.
Yeah. Jeff?
I feel all these guys are they're going to stick around. This is going to be their core guys. They might draft a guy in the draft or bring in a veteran free agent, a low tier guy. But I'll say the only guy possibly, I don't think they'll move on from him, but they need to do something with his contract is Brandon Brooks. I'll say this is a guy that has coming off 3 major injuries that ended his season.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a guy at his age and getting that type of money and he just continues to get hurt. I understand it's not completely his fault. It's unfortunate. He always battles back and proves you wrong that he comes back even better physically at least. But I would say along the offensive line position or a position that I would say we need to get better and prove in the Super Bowl that you need an offensive line to win football games. I would say because when you had Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, running for his freaking life. But I would say he's just a little bit of a question mark for me. I would say we know what he can do, but again, he's coming off 3 major injuries, so it's going to be we still don't know what type of player he's going to come back from these injuries.
If there's one player, though, that I have faith coming back from injury on offensive line in the league, it's Brooks because he came back from that Achilles, man. And
he's come back
crazy. So, and he looks like he's in shape. I mean, he was doing freaking jiu-jitsu not long after his surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks like he's in incredible shape. I definitely understand your concern, though, that the injury concern is a legitimate concern when it comes to Brooks. And that's why I think you have to look at drafting someone late because you need depth. But
exactly.
I mean, the silver lining of all the injuries last year on the offensive line was that a lot of these young guys got playing time.
Yep.
And Driscoll might have been one of the biggest beneficiaries because Driscoll played really solid. You know, for a rookie, he was solid. He was better at tackle than I thought he would be at tackle. I always thought he would just be a guard, but he played better at tackle than I figured he would. So it's a good sign. He got good reps last year, so hopefully that pays off because we're going to need him as as a second unit type of guy, just in case Brooks gets hurt again.
Because it's not just next season now. So you look at his contract over the next 4 years. This year he's $14 million. Next year he's $17 million on the cap. $16 million, $17 million going to age 35. He's accounting for about a little bit over 7% of the cap over the next 3 years for one guy. It's high, especially a guy in the later tier of his career coming off those type of injuries. I'm not saying move on from him, but again, we need to try to find ways to get under the cap, and he's one of the guys that I feel they need to focus on the restructure that horrible deal that Howie Roseman gave him.
Yeah. All right, so we got offensive line down. Mm-hmm. Tight end is pretty much that's a given. I mean, if unless you guys want to dive into Zach Ertz, we all know that it's a foregone conclusion he's going to get traded. I mean, anyone else have anything to add to that?
No.
Just wish it was 2 years ago. That's all.
Yep.
I just wish the value was higher. I get it.
You mean a year ago? We were having that
a year ago, but I just wish the value was higher. But it is what it is. I mean, I can see from the other side of it while we thought the team was at a certain position and headed in a different direction, and he needs to be on a team
I did not expect the team to be this bad.
No. Right.
And, I thought we'd be contending and it would need Ertz, but that wasn't the case. And that, like I've said in past couple of weeks, that contract, the contract situation with him played a really heavy toll on his game.
Yep.
A lot more of a toll than we expected. So, it is what it is. Hindsight's 20/20, though. I mean, well, who knows if we really, looking back on it now, if at the time we would have done it any different. But it is what it is. But Ertz will be gone. That's pretty much that. Besides that, so after that, we got wide receiver. We know that Alshon will be cut. So we've got Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, Quez Watkins, and J. Jaw. So who would, out of those, there are some interesting names I feel like you could make a case for, but let's see, would you move on from any of them?
Well, you're hanging
we have them. That's what we have to pick from. That's the problem.
Well, yeah. But that, so you can just take Greg Ward off the list because there's already reports that they tendered him, so he's already coming back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they tendered him as Alex Singleton and someone else. There was reports of that they yesterday that they were they tendered or were tendering, according I think to Mike K.
It was Scott. Yeah, it was Boston.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'll say you're not gonna get much value in trade market for these guys, and I'll say Reagor, he's only entering his second year. It was a disappointing rookie campaign, but I'll say you need to know what you have in your former first round draft pick. I'll say Hightower and Fulgham showed some flashes until Alshon came back and stole their rep. So give them a shot. And JJ, I'll say he's probably the one guy I would move on from. And I know there's reports that there's no guarantee with Sirianni that he's going to be on the roster week one, but just knowing Howie and the way he doesn't want to give up on draft picks, admit that he's wrong, I feel they bring him back in his last year of his rookie deal.
I think with Fulgham, he just needs to be more consistent. We need to see Reagor take a step forward. Yeah. I think you're going to go in with Reagor, Fulgham, and Ward as your starting three, especially if they go Pitts. I mean, at Pitts at 6 or Pitts at 9. Well, I want to see what Quez Watkins does. If he does something, if his body starts to fill out, Hightower, his body starts to fill out. I think out of that whole group, I think J-Jaw may be the odd man standing out, looking from the outside looking in. So I don't know. It's Howie, just get out of your own fucking way. This skill position group could have been a lot different with these names that we just ran down.
Yep.
Well, Proto, so are they moving on from Davis? I thought that the last thing I heard in Tennessee, they're trying to re-sign Davis.
Are they? I didn't hear anything, but
he's a free agent. I thought. I could be wrong.
He is. I don't know if they're planning to.
Yeah, he's going to probably hit the open market. Corey, I forget which reporter, but there's looking like he's going to hit the open market.
So would you rather have Davis, if you can sign anyone out of these three, would you rather have Davis, Allen Robinson?
Flyers scored! Sorry.
Flyers up 4-3. Sorry.
Hey, hold on, wait.
There's space.
This is a little bit behind, apparently.
Say that again, Pete. Sorry.
So would you rather have Corey Davis, Allen Robinson, or Kenny Golladay for this team?
I mean, if we could afford it, I'd take Allen Robinson in a heartbeat. But
I would take Allen Robinson and go to bed, but I don't think Corey Davis is by far the cheapest option, and I don't think Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay are going to be available to us. I think Allen Robinson's going to get franchise tagged, and I know Kenny Golladay is still up in the air on what's going on with him.
We're not.
I would love Golladay. Just the size.
They just signed what's his face?
Tyrell Williams for $6.1 million.
I don't think Golladay is coming back to Detroit. They just
either.
Okay. I mean, listen, if we can get the money for Kenny Golladay, I'll do that in 5 seconds.
I would,
no doubt.
I'll take any of those three. If we could afford them, I'll take any of those three.
But to me, I think Corey Davis, you can bring him in. I think you can bring him in for kind of a prove it deal too, because he's kind of had a disappointing career so far. Because he was picked top 10, top 7.
He was 5th overall.
Top 10.
Yeah. I remember he was the guy that I wanted. Yeah,
I wanted him so bad.
9 overall, but he was top 10. I know that.
And honestly, like we've talked about this a lot on Monday, but like to me, the splashy wide receiver move, I'm making next offseason because I'm not trying to be like the NBA where I'm looking at like pending free agents of like 2024. But if anyone takes a little peek at next year's wide receiver class,
Would be for free agent or draft?
The free agency.
Free agency. This is the thing, though, brother. This is what I'm wondering. I'm just curious because you know how the cap isn't going to move all that much. You know, because you know how every year usually it gets a lot larger. But with this year with COVID, it's not moving up as much. So with that, I wonder if that's going to have an impact on the market to where these free agent deals, they're not going to be as high as what we've seen.
Right.
I wonder as well.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if because there's less cap to work with, that what's the word I'm looking for? It's an economics word where it kind of it puts the whole value of the market down a little bit. You get what I'm saying? You guys get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? It's like it takes a hit so that normally where, for example, for a guy like Corey Davis, say you would pay, I don't know, I'm throwing out a number, like $10 million for 1 year, right? Maybe he could be had for $5 million for 1 year. You get, like, does that make sense? I wonder if that cap situation, the salary cap situation in the league, will have that kind of impact on free agency.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thought. That's definitely a good thought. And also, you know, I listen. I mean, would I love to, you know, be able to talk about the guys, you know, at the top of the list, the Allen Robinsons, the Chris Godwins, the et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. But, you know, those would obviously be my biggest choices. But I think bringing in a guy like Corey Davis can do one of three things for you. Number one, you're bringing in a guy who has a high upside. He really started to show signs of it the last couple of years. But overall, he's been pretty much of a disappointment. So you can bring him in on a cheap deal, prove a deal like we talked about. Also, he's not going to be coming in and replacing any of you know what I'm saying? You're going to be giving him, it's not like you're giving him the keys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can bring in a guy like that. Like the other guy I always mention, but I don't want any part of him is Sammy Watkins. Like I don't touch him.
I'm good.
He screwed me over way too many times in fantasy.
Yeah. I'm not playing the Sammy Watkins game or like the Will Fuller. Like I'm not doing that.
Yeah. No.
So you bring in a Corey Davis. If he doesn't pan out, all right, whatever. And then the next year, like the name I'm excited for next year is DJ Chark. He's going to be available. So like if that's your splashy move, because like we talked about, I think we're going to be bad for a couple years. But if Jalen Hurts can play and they do their job organizationally over the next 12 months, you're going to be going into next offseason, 12 months from now, with a handful more picks that you've acquired from all these trades that you either have made or going to make, and $44 additional million that you're going to save from the Wentz deal. So you're going to be looking like you're in a situation like the Dolphins were in a handful of years ago when you had a ton of picks and a lot of friggin' money.
Yep.
So Corey Davis is the like I understand, like if we get Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, whatever, like it's fine. Like I'm not mad at it, but to be honest, the only move I'm making when it says wide receiver is Corey Davis, and I'm going to bed.
Real quick. Boyle Rivera says if the guy with the mohawk, I'm assuming he means me, has a curse word, I will donate $50 to any charity he chooses. Yo, donate that shit right now. Fuck titties. He says, say fuck titties. Fuck titties.
Peanut, you better pay him up, Peanut.
The charity that I would like you to donate to, it is a Bay Area grassroots community organization to stop Asian hate going on right now, which is a real thing. Hashtag stop Asian hate. Donate, please, to the Filipino Advocates for Justice. Again, Filipino Advocates for Justice. Please donate $50 to them. I appreciate it. Thank you, Moyo. So, anyways, wide receiver. I think a name we have to. Oh, Brodo, good points. It's going to be interesting to see where they go through with wide receivers and free agency. By the way, also Flyers complete the comeback win.
4-3.
Good stuff. Damn. Good stuff. But anyways, one name that I did forget to mention because he wasn't on this list, but I just remembered.
Marquise Goodwin.
According to Marquise Goodwin, he is getting his deal reworked. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about another veteran to add to the mix. That's another one that, I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. I'm saying that he's going to be in the mix. So we'll see. There's another.
I feel they'll bring him back, especially since we don't have that veteran guy that's been in this league that long. So the fact that they're restructuring him makes you feel that they bring him back, and no one can fault the guy. I'll say he just had a newborn child when COVID all hit. He didn't want to take the risk for him and his pregnant wife and a newborn child. So anyone that criticized him for leaving football for a year for the safety of his family, I know there were some people out there. I would say need to get their head examined. So I was like, he's definitely a guy that's gonna be in the mix, but. I would say the free agent market, I would say, I just don't feel the Eagles being much players, even if they're these short-term one-year deal, low salary, because if I feel a lot of these teams are going to be doing the same thing because – and there's a lot of teams in better cap situations than us, but there's reports that it's going to be a slaughter out there when it comes to these to cut day before the start of the league year, when teams examine on what players they can't restructure, which players to move on from because of the horrible cap situation and looking long term. If someone gets a similar deal, say Corey Davis, 1 year, $5-6 million from the Eagles, and 1 year, $6 million from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether it all depends on their prerogative and what they want. If they want playing time or if they want to try to win a championship, I'll say that might be their only chance to win a championship. So a lot of these players on the open market, they want to get paid, but they also want to win. And right now, the Eagles aren't a winning organization, at least heading into next year.
Yeah. Great points. I did want to touch real quick on the point you made about Goodwin and his child. If you don't know Goodwin's story, go look it up. There's a reason why I've cheered for this guy for years, looking at his story. And as a new father, it especially hits home now. Yeah. So I'm telling you, I'm not pushing for Goodwin to be like a starter. I'm not saying he's a great player, but he is one of those guys that you just root for if you know his background and what happened to him and his wife and his family. So I would be more than happy to have him on the roster next year. Last position I want to get into, because we're not going to get into quarterback because we obviously know Jalen Hurts.
Real quick, since we're moving on from quarterback, who do you guys want to come in as the backup? Since we obviously said Sudfeld's we don't want back. Who on the open market? I would say I know Mike K brought up the connection with Sirianni, Tyrod Taylor, or you guys want like a Marcus Mariota. I'll say I don't know if you guys want to throw a name out.
I think you go to route like what Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson and then bringing in RG3. Like you have to see what it's like to build the offense around a quarterback like Hurts to give him a fair shake. You know what I mean? I don't think you can if you bring somebody in like a Fitzpatrick, I just think that's too drastic of a change of a quarter from what your starter is to how you're going to cater the offense. You know what I mean? So, Was Tyrod even in the league last year?
Yeah, remember?
Yeah. He started for LA, right? And then Herbert took the job.
Yeah, remember he got stabbed with the knee.
He got stabbed in the chest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Punctured his lung.
I don't know, man. I would probably look for another option outside of Tyrod. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't know if I would go that route first. He wouldn't be my first choice, but I don't hate the idea. This is any backup QB that's not named Nick Foles. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
I'm gonna make you angry then, Pete.
Oh my God.
Because it's a name not Nick Foles, but
not Mitchell.
No. Oh yeah. You think I would? You think I would even say those words? It's a certain by the name of Cam Newton.
Oh.
I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
I think he's going to re-sign in New England, though. I just got a sneaky feeling he stays in New England for whatever reason.
I hope so.
Yeah. Me too.
I'll say real quick, Chucks. I would say Moyo did make the donation. He sent me the screenshot, so he did.
Moyo, thank you so much. Honestly,
that's cool.
You don't know how much that means to me. Honestly, I'm trying to push for a hashtag Stop Asian Hate, and that means a whole lot, guys. So I do appreciate that, Moyo. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. So running back real quick before we wrap this up. Oh, for quarterback. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. Quarterback, because I think it would be funny as heck to finally have him here. It's Mariota. The guy that we wanted back in what was it, 2015?
15, yep.
To have him here finally, I think it would just be really funny. And I think he's good enough to push Hurts. You know what I mean? I think he's a good enough quarterback where Hurts is, or not that Hurts needs extra motivation. I'm just saying, like, it would be a reasonable competition between the two because Mariota has shown he could play. You know what I mean? He could play, maybe not as a great starter, but you know he's a good quarterback in terms of a fringe backup kind of thing. So, to me, it's Mariota, but I'm open to a lot of different other guys, and we'll get into that next week when we do our free agency preview. Next week, so they'll definitely bring that up again. Your question, we'll see where we're at. So running backs, guys, we've got obviously Miles Sanders, and we're not giving him up. So everyone else, I mean, Boston Scott was tendered. I mean, there's no one. I mean, Corey is unrestricted free agent, and we've got Huntley and Holyfield. I mean, there's no one really to really dive into. So I'll close it with this question: Where are you on Boston Scott? Because obviously he struggled as the RB2, you know, with the team. He had his big game against the Giants, as he always does. But where are you with him? Do you think he still has a role with this team, or are you ready to just be like, I'm done with him? He's nothing more than like a depth guy.
I mean, from what we've seen out of what they were able to do with Nyheim Hines last year, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I see. Hope to envision what we can get out of Boston Scott. Because I definitely think the creativeness for the running back position, and we just look at the track record. I mean, before Melvin Gordon, when he was in San Diego, when it was the San Diego Chargers, look at how they use Austin Eckler there. Because, you know, our OC is Shane Steichen. I mean, we all hear this talk about again. And you forget that we had Shane Steichen also as well. Look how they use Austin Eckler there. You know what I mean? So obviously that's their feature back. So that's hope for Miles, and that's also hope for Boston Scott as well. Just when the fucking ball is there, they just got to catch it. That's all. There's nothing worse than seeing a drop pass by a running back out of the backfield when it's a 6 fucking yard pass. I swear, like, what do you? It's right there. Like you just left the spot that you just ran from. Catch the ball.
Yeah, I'll say Boston. I'll say he's too inconsistent. I'll say if they want to keep him on the roster as a depth guy, I still feel you need to bring in another guy in here, another veteran, or draft someone just in case you do not re-sign Miles in the next couple of years when his rookie deal is done. But the one thing Sirianni better not do, or whoever, I forget who our special teams coach is, they better not put Boston Scott back as a freaking kick returner. They need to get someone else back there because the fact that the guy could not get back to the 25-yard line, constantly taking out of the freaking end zone, or even not out of the end zone, still can get back to the 25. I understand blocking is probably an issue, but the dude is not meant to be a kick returner in the National Football League. He just doesn't have the instinct or the vision what to do in that situation. And the fact that Peterson and the coaching staff put him in that position, I felt they were just trying to find that role for him because of Clement and the other guys getting some of those roles, and they felt the kick return aspect was a reason to keep Boston Scott active on the game day roster. Find another freaking role for him. Bring in a serious contending kick returner and punt returner for this football team, especially when field position matters so much.
What's hilarious is that, like, and it goes for Greg Ward too on punt return. Like, what's hilarious is Rager barely saw reps at punt return, but one of them we ran it back. But I never saw him again. Like,
nope.
Oh my God! Like Ward, I get it. He's short-handed and everything, but he's like Reno Mahe when it comes to punt return. Like, he's short-handed, but he's safe. He's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Nope.
So I mean, yeah, I do think we need to bolster the return game. Obviously, with Scott, I think that I like Scott, but asking him to run the ball as much as he did last year is not ideal. He's a space player. He's a giant killer. So for every Giants game, I want him on the field. But yeah, like I want him on the team. I want him in our running back room. But you need more. You need to bolster that room. You need someone to adequately spell Sanders and take on carries like 10 carries a game roughly. So that's not Scott. Get someone else in there.
Yeah,
Najee. Sorry.
God, I'm telling you.
I'll take Najee and Harris all day.
Anything else you want to touch on in regards to the Eagles football? We can do. I mean, like the hockey happy hour is not on for another 15 minutes, so technically we can extend for another few. If you guys got anything you want to talk about, I've got one thing I did want to bring up in regards to football, but I'll let you guys go first.
I think me and you are going to bring up the same thing. If we're thinking of like, is it some rankings?
No, it's not rankings.
Oh, okay. So, real quick.
No, I know where you're gonna go.
You said it in the group chat, Chugs.
So, real quick. I mean, we all know Phil Simms is quarterback of the Giants. His son Chris Simms was the number 1 rated prospect coming out of high school. Pretty good guy from NBC Sports. He's been proven right, and he's been given looks for his rankings, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. In 2017, he had Mahomes ranked ahead of everybody else, ahead of Deshaun, ahead of Mitchell, ahead of Darnold. How did that plan out? 2 years ago, 2 years ago, in 2018, I'm sorry, the year after, the Eagles traded out of the first round. The Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson. 3 months before the draft even happened, Chris Simms said Lamar Jackson was his number 1 quarterback. Yeah, I think his actual order was Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. So when it comes to quarterbacks, he's a little bit different. He's usually he's right. So
Pete, I have 2019 and 20 if you want to read it real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so 2009. So 18, you're right. He had his rankings were Lamar, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, which a lot of people criticized him for. 2019, his rankings were Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins, Ryan Finley, Jarrett Stidham, Daniel Jones, Clayton Thorson, Will Grier. I mean, there's no one on there except for Murray and maybe Daniel Jones. And he said he did miss a little bit on Jones, but Jones really isn't even that great. So I'm not even going to put that on him. And then 2020, Joe Burrow is an obvious one, but he had Justin Herbert as 2.
Yep.
Yeah. He had Herbert, and he called it with Herbert.
Yes.
So
yes, he did.
His track record is there.
So he said this year, his number 1 overall quarterback is Zach Wilson. Shocker there.
Okay.
By a significant margin. Like Zach Wilson, he likens Zach Wilson better than Joe Burrow. That's how much he likes Zach Wilson. 2, Trevor Lawrence. 3, Mac Jones. The new 2021 version of Tom Brady in uniform. 4, Cullen Mond. 5, Justin Fields. 6, Trey Lance. I just want to preface this, people, by saying, if the Eagles draft a quarterback and it's Mac Jones, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with myself. But if you go to listen to it's the free plug, go listen to Chris Simms on Button Pod. If you just listen to this one episode, by the end of it, he will have you so ready that if the Eagles drafted Mac Jones at number 6, you will be happy.
Yeah.
You will be absolutely at one because he said he's the fucking throw. He throws from like a robot. Quick reader, like he's never seen anybody as quick, process reads, and know where they want to go with the ball. But I'll give it to Jeff and Jay because me and Chuck's already kind of talked about this. What do you, out of those rankings, how do you feel? And then does that make you feel any differently towards what the Eagles would do at 6?
Before you guys go, because I know me and Pete said this in our chat. So Jeff, you obviously saw it. Yeah. And if you do, for those who constantly see Chris Simms' rankings and his takes, especially his QB is his specialty, obviously. Yeah. His dad is a QB. So that's his specialty. He always puts out QB rankings off-season and in the draft. If you see him, and there's a lot that are controversial, a lot. Mm-hmm. And a lot of his takes are things that people that are against the norm, and it gets people talking and upset because they're like, he's doing this for clicks.
Yep.
If you actually listen to Chris Simms' podcast, mm-hmm. I've been listening to him for years now. back when he was on Bleacher Report with Adam Lefkoe, and that was one of the best shows, and the football shows podcasts I've ever listened to. It's a shame that they split up because they complement each other so well. But Chris Sims is the farthest thing from a guy who wants clickbait. He's so smart and knows what he's talking about, and he does the work. And if you don't believe me, listen to him, because you will know he does the work based on what he says and his explanations. There's no way you can fake what he says. There's no way you can do it. He knows what he's talking about. And this is not to say that, I've never disagreed with him. I've disagreed with him a ton. There are takes where, especially when it comes to running backs, I think running backs he's not that good at. Running backs, I think I have a better track record than he does, and so there are some takes where I'm just like, come on, man. So I disagree with him a ton on running backs and other stuff, but the thing is, what I don't like is people, when I see in social media, they see his stuff and they're automatically like, oh, it's for clicks. He wants attention. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Listen to him. He does the work, and you don't have to always agree with what he says, right. But darn it, you have to respect it because he does the work. He knows what he's talking about, and he has the track record to prove that he knows what he's talking about. So, I just wanted to point that out because he gets so much heat on social media when I don't think it's deserved. You don't always have to agree with the guy, but give him his respect because he does this because he wants to give smart takes, and some of his evaluations and rankings, they end up that way because when it comes to evaluations, before I get too long here, and I talk to Jake and Pete about this all the time. Mm-hmm. Different evaluators, they prioritize different things. Right. For example, when I'm evaluating running backs, I put such an emphasis on versatility and receiving ability, whereas other evaluators don't. So my rankings are going to be different from someone else's. That's why last year I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as RB1, whereas someone else had maybe J.K. Dobbins or Jonathan Taylor. It's not to say that one is wrong and one is not, or one is right. It's just more of you also got to take into account the preference of the evaluator. So Chris Sims has his preference. He likes elite traits. He likes big arms and arm talent, but it doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. So always take that into context when you're looking at his rankings. Try to delve deeper and just be like, okay, this is why he ranked it this way. I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. So so again, I'll repeat it for you, Jeff and Jake, real quick. Zach Wilson at 1, Trevor Lawrence at 2, Mac Jones at 3, Kellen Mond at 4, Justin Fields at 5, and Trey Lance at 6. And if you don't know the tiers, he had pretty much Zach Wilson in a tier by himself, and then he had Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, and Kellen Mond in that next tier, and then Fields and Lance in that next tier below that. I'm pretty much even.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me just because of obviously we've seen Chris Sims top draft QBs before, and it's caused nothing but controversy. But again, like you said, Chucks, and he knows what he's talking about. He knows what his eyes are telling him. He's played the position for Christ's sake, so he knows what he's looking for. But it's just, I don't hate it, but the Kellen Mond one really interests me. That's the one that really sticks out to me at number 4. That's the one, yeah. That really interests me ahead of Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Trey Lance, I get why he's at the back. He has all the talent, but he's so raw, which I understand. Justin Fields, he has the track record. He's shown flashes here and there, but Kellen Mond, I don't hate it, but I just want more clarification on the Kellen Mond.
It raises your eyebrows. It's
it really does. I'm like, Kellen Mond.
Yeah. Before Jeff goes, the reason his thought process for Kellen Mond at 4 is he did it in the SEC and he only lost one game. And who did he lose it to? He lost it to Bama.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So and that's the greatest, that's the biggest thing. He always translate what they did in college to how it's going to translate to the league. Mm-hmm. All right, Jeff.
I'll say I can't disagree with it. I would say I don't study college football as much as you guys. I usually go off most of the draft experts and read their analysis and all that type of stuff. So I'll say I'll go with what Chris Sims has up there. I would say Chuck's, like you said, I would say he's a guy with a lot of football knowledge. He studies a lot of tape, and I would say especially the quarterback position, he knows he might not have had a successful career, and that's the one thing I hate about fans and people that read these analyst reports and their opinions. They feel just because they might have sucked in the NFL, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not the case. So I would say he has a proven track record for the most part of analyzing the position pretty well. So I would say if that's how he feels and that's how he's looking at it, great. And then I still, even though I'll say I know from the Eagles aspect, I still don't feel they take a quarterback at 6, even if one of these guys falls later on. I would say I honestly feel they're going to go with a veteran, and I would say they're the backup Jalen Hurts, and they're going to let Jalen Hurts ride this ship for 2021 and then analyze the quarterback position next year. Because I would say I know we don't know what's going to happen next year with the draft or how deep the quarterback position is going to be, but look at this draft class. I'm sure there's a couple names on there that you didn't expect to get as much praise and recognition this time last year heading into the season. So
right.
Yeah.
Nah, I see you. I see you, TA. You're right. You're right and wrong, because there has been more rumors about Trevor Lawrence's inconsistencies and his the things that his bad habits. But this, like Sim says, if his talent was fully tapped, then yeah, he's a clear number one.
Mm-hmm.
He's a clear number one. You know what I mean? But we'll see. I mean, interested to see what other positions that he may rank. And I know me and Chucks and Jake are going to get into it as we get closer to the draft process. And as soon as I get some freaking time to watch some tape and break it down, the way I want it. I wish it was 26 hours in a day, man. But
oh my God. No lie. I have to, and I hope this doesn't get out, but I have to watch some tape while I'm at work. I don't have time at home. I got the baby and I got all this other stuff. The only way I can fit some of this time in is if I do it during my free time at work. But please don't boss. But yeah, I ultimately don't like. I'm no QB expert. From what I tell, I like the whole package of Lawrence still more. Yeah. So yep. I would still rank Lawrence
number one
at 1. Mm-hmm. So that's where I do disagree. And I know, again, Sim loves arm talent, so that's what he's looking at. I think Lawrence is just too much of a whole package.
Yep.
Thing, and I think those inconsistencies he talked about, I think those are easily coached out of him. I don't think they're glaring weaknesses. And to Sims' credit, Sims did say he completely is good with Lawrence at 1. He's like, he gets it. He's like, if the Jaguars take Lawrence at 1, that is a great pick. So it's not like he's saying like they shouldn't. He's giving his own take on it. I thought his take on Lance was so fair, and just his take on Lance was accurate to what most people are saying. Lance just doesn't have enough games under him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. He just doesn't, and that's where the huge risk comes in. But if he turns out to be, what his skill set has shown, he can be like one of the better quarterbacks in the league or in this draft class. So it's going to be interesting. I gotta look more into the quarterbacks, but it's such a complex position that I would never stamp my foot down on a quarterback eval, because I know that I'm missing a bunch of stuff. It's so complicated, the quarterback position. So, I mean, kudos to those who do, because it's very difficult. But anyone else I'll save mine for later on one of the other shows, what I was going to talk about, because I'm sure it'll be brought up again anyway. But anyone else got anything else before we hop out and out of here?
I mean, take care of yourselves out there. Be safe, man. Be safe.
Yep.
Because the vaccine is out there don't mean you're invincible.
Yep. Be safe. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out Tom's interview with Joe Giglio if you haven't already from earlier this week. So it's on all the platforms.
Heck yeah. Good stuff. All right, Pete, man, bring us home.
So for everybody out there, man, this show is brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Our doc, Paul Vidal, make him yours. Thank Cherry Hill, Burlington, and all other surrounding Camden and Gloucester County areas as well. Stay tuned for a Triple H Hockey Happy Hour coming up next. Body Check Wellness with Riley Cote on. They're doing a giveaway with a special customized Body Check jersey. I called it a jersey hockey sweater. Obviously, bodycheckwellness.com, promo code A2D for 20% off all your purchases. Everybody out there, love each other, man. We thank y'all for rocking with us. Check out Hockey Happy Hour coming up next. Fan Friday tomorrow as well. Is Kicking the Stateside Friday now too? Maybe, possibly.
I don't know if they moved to Friday permanently. Maybe
well, if not, you'll catch them on Saturday, man. But everybody out there, thank you, Jake, for rocking with us. For me, Chucks and Jeff, Chrome and TA off in the shadows. See them back next week, man. We love y'all. Appreciate it. Thank y'all for rocking with us.
Stop Asian hate. Thank you, guys. Stop Asian hate.